My husband opened the closet and went pale. "What is it?" he asked. I was confused. What is what? Then I looked closer at what he was pointing at, and my stomach dropped. The next day I found out the truth and did this. Soon I would never speak with my parents again. I wish I could say it started with something dramatic, like a thud in the attic, a shadow in the hallway, a weird whispery voicemail from an unknown number that just said, "You need to know." But it didn't. It started with my husband, Ma, coming home and asking me if we had any clean sweatpants. That's it. It was a Tuesday, not even a weird Tuesday. Not one of those off-feeling days where the air tastes wrong and birds hit the windows. No, this Tuesday was aggressively normal, the kind of day you could live through 10 times and never remember once. I'd just gotten home from work. I was microwaving leftover penny that had become one sticky noodle brick. Ma walked in, kissed me on the forehead, and said, "God, I'm tired," which is his way of saying hello. I asked if rehearsal was rough. He said the director had a meltdown over someone not understanding subtext. I said, like someone who understands subtext. Then he wandered off to change. That's when it happened. I heard him open the bedroom closet, and then silence. No hanger clanking, no frustrated sigh about how we need to do laundry. Just silence. Then, "Lisa." His voice wasn't sharp, but it had that something like a held breath before a verdict. The kind of tone that makes your stomach tighten before your brain has caught up. I called back, "Yeah? Can you come here?" "Why?" "Just, can you?" Now, I'd like to tell you I had an immediate gut instinct, that I was on high alert, that I dropped my pasta and ran down the hall, whispering, "This is it, the beginning of the end." But the truth is, I rolled my eyes, scraped cheese off my fork, and muttered something about men being helpless without visual confirmation. I walked into the bedroom. He was standing by the open closet, frozen mid-motion like a paused frame. His hand was half extended, pointing at a shelf. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't look at me, just nodded at the shelf again. At first, I didn't see it. Just the usual chaos. A folded beach towel, one of Mika's hoodies, an unmatched sock I keep meaning to throw out because the other one got eaten by the dryer 2 months ago. Then I spotted it, tucked almost casually between a crumpled t-shirt and the towel. "A bra," I frowned. "What is what? It's my bra." "No," he said, "it's not." I stepped closer. It was pale pink, a little lace along the edge, the kind of color you'd only wear if you expected someone to see it. Not the sports bra for sleeping in type. This was date night lingerie, or performance lingerie, or not mine at all lingerie. I picked it up slowly. The weight of it hit me before the reality did. It was warm, like it had been worn recently. I turned to Ma. "Okay, that's weird." He raised his eyebrows, waiting. I added, "That's not mine." "Yeah," he said. The silence was louder than it should have been. My mind did a few somersaults. The thing is, I'm not an especially tidy person. I'm the kind of person who loses her car keys in the fridge. But still, a bra? A not mine bra that I touched, that I apparently lived next to for who knows how long. I looked at him. "Okay, just to be clear, you found this?" He nodded. "I was looking for my sweatpants." "Right, and you thought it was mine?" "I knew it wasn't." "Oh," I blinked. "Okay, wow, that's observant." "It's 2 cup sizes smaller." I blinked. "Well, thanks for noticing." He didn't smile. I set the bra back down on the shelf, like if I touched it too long it might burn me. My fingers felt strange. Not guilty, not scared. Just wrong, like I'd touched something alive without meaning to. My first irrational thought, maybe it's old, from a previous tenant. Maybe it got wedged into the back of the closet and worked its way forward like a time-traveling accusation. Except this wasn't some abandoned attic relic. This was fresh, used, not dusty, recently placed. I turned to Ma. "I swear I don't know where that came from." His jaw tightened like he wanted to believe me, but wasn't sure if he was allowed to yet. I hated that look. Not because it hurt, but because it made me feel like I was already losing something and didn't even know what it was yet. We stood there for another moment. Then I tried to make a joke. Maybe someone broke in and left behind a calling card, like a reverse lingerie bandit. He didn't laugh. I gave up and walked back to the kitchen, trying to focus on the pasta. Dinner was quiet. Mika stabbed at his food like it had insulted him. I chewed mechanically and tried not to make eye contact with the bra in my peripheral memory. Halfway through, he looked up and said, "Are you experimenting?" I blinked. "What?" "You know what I mean." "No, I really don't." He pushed his plate away. "I found stuff that isn't yours. What am I supposed to think?" I stared at him, the pasta going cold in my mouth. You think I'm cheating? He didn't answer, just stared. I dropped my fork. Okay, seriously? You found a woman's bra in our closet and your first thought is me? Still silence. I stood up. If anyone should be asking questions, it's me. I mean, you're the guy in this equation. He looked up. Then why don't you seem more upset? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. He had a point. I wasn't angry. I wasn't panicked. I was off balance, like someone had swapped out my life for a slightly warped version and dared me to notice. So I just stood there and said nothing. And Ma looked at me like I'd already confirmed the worst. There are few things more cursed than doing laundry when your marriage is under investigation. You don't realize how many suspicious articles of clothing you own until you start pulling them out of a dryer like a detective dusting for prints. Every sock becomes a question. Every lace edge becomes a threat. It was the next day. I'd barely slept. Ma and I were still talking, but our conversations had developed that weird, passive-aggressive rhythm where everything sounds normal if you only read the subtitles. I was sorting laundry in the kitchen, half drunk on cheap red wine and bad vibes, when I found it. The slipper. It was wedged under a crumpled hoodie I didn't remember washing. Small, powder blue, fuzzy, with one of those decorative bows that says someone owns a pink hairdryer and calls their dog Sweetie. Not mine, it wasn't even close. I held it up like a piece of roadkill, already knowing it was trouble. The sole was worn, the inside matted. Someone had definitely worn this recently, possibly while watching Netflix and plotting my personal downfall. I didn't have time to think. I heard the front door close. Footsteps. Panic is such a stupid reflex. I should have just walked out, handed it to Mika, and said, "Look, more weirdness. Your turn to spiral." But no, I panicked like a teenager caught smoking in the garage. I shoved the slipper behind my back. Ma walked in. He looked at me, then at the laundry, then at my very unnatural stance. "What are you hiding?" I gave him my best Humi face. He didn't buy it. He stepped closer. I pulled out the slipper like it was a weapon I was surrendering. He stared at it, then at me, then said softly, "Yeah, I knew it." I didn't know what to say, so I tried the truth. "I don't know where it came from." He didn't yell, didn't even sigh. He just left the room. And somehow that was worse. I stood there, holding the slipper, heart pacing, but mind dragging behind. I wasn't getting answers from Ma, and I didn't trust myself to untangle the logic alone. So I went upstairs. My mom was hunched at the dining table, scrolling with her reading glasses on and a look on her face like the news had personally betrayed her. She glanced up when I came in. "What's that?" I set the slipper down in front of her. She gave it a quick once-over. "Yours?" "No." She tilted her head. "Laundry mix-up." I stared at her. She looked back at me. I sat down. "It's not mine. It was in the laundry basket. Yesterday Mika found a bra in our closet, also not mine." Her eyebrows lifted just slightly. She leaned back in her chair like she was settling in. "And you're sure it's not some old thing you forgot you had?" It was the wrong size. She nodded like that confirmed something. For her, not for me. "Has he been acting strange lately?" she asked. I frowned. "No." "Well," she folded her hands, "maybe not strange, but distant, preoccupied. You said yourself he's been stressed." I narrowed my eyes. "Wait, are you saying you think he's cheating?" She hesitated. Not long. Just enough to pretend she had reservations. I didn't want to say anything, but I did see something a few weeks ago. I blinked. "What?" "I came home early. I forgot my charger. You weren't here." My stomach dropped. "And I saw him in the living room, with someone." I stared. "With who?" "I don't know. A woman. She was young. Dark hair, I think. Or maybe light brown. I didn't get a good look." "And you didn't tell me?" "I didn't know how," she said. "I thought maybe it was innocent. But now, with this..." She gestured toward the slipper. "And a bra showing up in your closet." I couldn't speak. I was still trying to process if I'd actually heard her correctly. She shook her head gently, like she was disappointed for me. "Not in me." "There is someone else's pink bra in your closet," she said, "and you don't even suspect your husband of cheating. You are so naive." I stared at her, then down at the slipper, then back at her. She tilted her head. "He's an actor, Lisa. They know how to perform. You think he couldn't fake surprise if he needed to?" I stood slowly. She didn't move. "You're too trusting," she said. "That's always been your problem." I turned and walked out without another word. And for once I didn't feel guilty about it. Outside I walked. No plan, no jacket, just motion, just needing the house and everyone in it to be smaller behind me. My brain was spinning in a loop. He's not cheating. But what if he is? No, he's not. But she sounded so sure. And then, just as I rounded the corner of our block, something my mother said replayed in my mind. A line, a detail, a thing she shouldn't have known. I stopped, dead in my tracks. Wait, how did I not notice something? She said, "It hit me, and it changed everything." It's strange how your brain starts rewinding when you're trying to make sense of something that makes no sense. Here's the thing about my childhood. It seemed normal, mostly. There were bike rides, cartoons, soggy grilled cheese. I had a sister, Sienna, 2 years older. People said we looked alike, but we didn't act alike. She was louder, brighter, always the one with glitter in her hair or a made-up monologue she insisted on performing in the living room. I was the quieter one, the observer, the kid who could entertain herself with a notepad and a pack of markers for 4 hours straight. Sometimes I thought Sienna was the favorite, but I could never prove it. It wasn't blatant, just a little tilt in the way they looked at her. A quicker reaction when she cried, a few more photos on the wall. Maybe I was imagining it. Or maybe it was just the gravity of her personality, the way she pulled attention to herself without even trying. But when the first real break happened, it wasn't subtle. It was college. Sienna got into a private acting school in the city, the kind with velvet seats and tuition that required a kidney. My parents didn't blink. They paid for it. All of it. Tuition, books, housing. They co-signed a loan, talked about it like funding her dreams was the most important thing they'd ever do. 2 years later, I got accepted into a finance program. Not flashy, not artsy, just solid. I showed them my letter. They said, "Congratulations." Then they said they were sorry. There was no money left, not because they didn't want to help, just because Sienna's dream had emptied the tank. I said it was fine, that I'd figure it out. And I did. Scholarships, 2 jobs, student loans. I graduated on time. No party. No family photo in front of the building. They didn't even ask about my final project. Meanwhile, Sienna was still between productions, and they were still paying for her headshots. Eventually, I got a job, a real one. Numbers, benefits, a desk with a drawer. I saved. I hustled. I bought a house. Not a palace, but it was mine. No one helped. No one offered. Then, by accident or fate or some terrible cosmic joke, I met Mika. Through Sienna, of course. He was doing a stage piece with her at some tiny black box theater. I'd gone to watch, mostly because I hadn't seen her in a while, and partly because I was hoping she'd stop asking for money if I supported her art. He wasn't hers. Let's get that straight. They were never dating. But she had a thing for him. That much was obvious. She mentioned him more than anyone else in the cast. Said his timing was brilliant, that he was underrated. And then she got weird when he and I started talking. Even weirder when we started dating. She didn't say congratulations. She said, "Seriously?" Then she cried to my mom for 3 hours about betrayal. I wasn't sure who betrayed her or why. But from that point on, the roles were set. I was the thief. She was the wounded artist. And my parents, predictably, backed her version. Ma and I stayed quiet. Focused. We got married. Not a big wedding. No dance floor drama. Just vows and a backyard and a couple of bad suits. My mom still brings up how she wasn't seated near the cake. A few years later, they lost their house. Of course they did. Some combination of bad investments, health bills, and what I suspect was a second round of tuition for a masterclass Sienna needed to take in New York. They moved in with us, upstairs. The word temporary was used a lot in those first few weeks. Just until we get back on our feet. Just until we figure things out. They've been here almost 2 years now. They take up space quietly like fog. My mom works part-time online. My dad does odd warehouse shifts. They're around, always around, floating upstairs, walking past Mika like he's an unpaid intern in his own house. They never outright insult him, but they'll ask questions that feel like corrections. "You're still doing theater, huh? Do you ever think about something more stable?" And to me, wouldn't it be easier to be with someone who shares your world? I used to laugh it off. Mika did too. But after a while, you start to feel it. Like sleeping in a bed with a stone under the mattress you can't quite find. Then came the play. Sienna and Mika were both cast in a new local production, historical drama, candlelight, tight costumes, bad accents. I told myself it was fine, that it was a coincidence, that they were professionals, that I trusted him. And I did. But my stomach said otherwise. My mother's reaction didn't help. She lit up like someone had just told her there was going to be a royal wedding. Sienna acted neutral, which for her meant trying not to look smug. And Mika, bless him, treated it like any other gig. Came home tired, ate leftovers, rehearsed his lines out loud like always. But I felt it, something off, something inching toward the center of the room. And then the bra, the slipper, the silence, the accusation. And then that sentence, that one line my mother said in passing, like it was obvious, something she shouldn't have known. She said, "There is someone else's pink bra in your closet, and you don't even suspect your husband of cheating." That's what she said, right? That was the line. Except I'd never told her it was pink. Not once. Not even close. I hadn't mentioned the color at all because I hadn't needed to. It wasn't about the color. It was about the fact that it existed at all. Worn, not mine. Planted in our closet like a relationship I didn't remember having. But she knew it was pink, which meant she'd seen it, which meant she didn't hear about it. She put it there. It didn't even feel like a realization, more like a snap. A very quiet, very sharp snap inside my chest. Something that had been tight for weeks just gave way all at once. My mother had planted the bra. And if she planted the bra, she probably planted the slipper. And if she planted the slipper, my stomach twisted. I didn't walk back to the house. I stormed. The house was quiet when I got there. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you wonder if maybe someone already knows they've been caught and fled to Canada, or worse, knows they haven't been caught yet and is planning their next move. I pushed the door open and kicked off my shoes hard enough that one bounced against the wall. I didn't care. I was going to confront her, right now, this second. I was done. But instead of finding my parents upstairs pretending not to hear the chaos, I walked into the living room and saw Mika sitting on the edge of the couch. Not watching TV, not reading, just sitting. Elbows on knees, hands clasped, waiting. He looked up at me. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were tired, like he hadn't slept, like he hadn't stopped thinking since I left the house. My anger paused mid-breath. "Hey," I said. He didn't say hey back. He said, "Your mom told me everything." My stomach dropped. I didn't know which everything we were talking about, but it couldn't be good. "What do you mean?" He took a long breath. "I wanted to hear it from you, but I guess you weren't going to tell me." "Tell you what?" He looked up, not angry, just hurt. "Are you seeing someone?" I blinked. "What are you talking about?" "A woman?" I opened my mouth, then shut it, then opened it again. "What the hell are you talking about?" "Your mom said she saw you, that she came home early one day and you were with someone. Another woman in the house." I laughed. I actually laughed. One of those involuntary, stunned, high-pitched laughs that sounded like it belonged to someone trying not to cry in public. "Seriously?" "She said she didn't want to tell me," he went on, "because you're her daughter and she didn't want to damage anything, but now she felt I had the right to know." I dropped my bag. "And you believed her?" He looked away. "She was convincing." "Oh, wow, she was convincing. Ma, she is not a trained actor. You are." He winced. I exhaled. Sharp, shallow. "No, I'm not seeing anyone. I'm definitely not seeing a woman. And by the way, if I was cheating, which I'm not, I wouldn't bring someone back to the house I share with my parents, you, and 2.5 kinds of mold." I didn't know what to think, he said. She said it so clearly. And the bra, the slipper, it just... I shook my head. "Okay, stop. I'm going to say this once. My mother is lying." He didn't react. "She told me you were cheating," I continued, "that she saw you with a woman when she came home early. She even described her, blonde or maybe brunette. You know, whatever works." Still no reaction. "She told me that after seeing the slipper and the bra. She told me they were pink." That got him. His eyebrows lifted slightly. "I never told her that, but she knew. She slipped up. She knew because she put them there." Silence. Heavy, hesitant. Then he said softly, "Why would she lie?" Right on cue, we heard the front door open. Footsteps, her laugh. Like nothing had happened. Like her chaos grenade hadn't gone off an hour ago. I turned to Ma. "Hide," I said. "What?" "Behind the curtain, or the coat rack, or the hallway wall. Just hide, please." He looked at me for a long second. Then he nodded. I ducked around the corner, heart pounding, like we were defusing a bomb in our own foyer. I heard her footsteps, keys on the counter, then her voice. "Lisa, you home?" I cleared my throat from behind the wall. "Yeah." She walked in, still holding her purse. "Have you seen Mika?" I asked, keeping my tone as light as I could. "No, not today," she said quickly. "Why?" I shrugged. "Just wondering." I looked at her, waiting, then said, Actually, there's something I wanted to ask. That woman you said you saw me with, can you describe her again? She blinked, then smiled like she had rehearsed this. Oh, sure. She was young, maybe 20s, short, dark hair. I think she had a tote bag. You two looked cozy. I nodded slowly. Then Mika stepped into the room. She froze. His face was calm, not smug, not angry, just done. So he said, "You told her I was cheating, and you told me she was." My mom stared at him, then at me, then back at him. That's not. Don't, I said. Her mouth opened again, then closed. She put her purse on the table like we were still going to talk about groceries. Then she walked upstairs. No apology, no explanation, no look back. Just feet on the stairs and silence swallowing the room behind her. Ma turned to me. His voice cracked on the first word. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. I let him keep going. I didn't want to believe her. I thought maybe I wasn't enough for you. You're so... Don't. He stopped. You are, I said. He stepped forward slowly, reached for my hand. I let him take it. We didn't say anything for a long time, but we didn't let go either. And I didn't say what I was thinking, not yet. Not until the warmth came back into his grip. But I was thinking it. This wasn't just about my mom. This wasn't just about lies. There was more. There was still more. And I was going to find out. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to Mika, who eventually drifted off with his arm flopped over my waist like he was afraid I'd float away. But I just stared at the ceiling, blinking slowly and letting the silence fill every space inside me. It wasn't over. I'd caught my mom in a lie. Sure, that was satisfying for about 5 seconds. But I'd seen her face when she was cornered. Calm, unbothered. Like she was already thinking about her next move. Which meant there was more. And I wasn't leaving anything buried. The next morning, I walked upstairs. No dramatic knocking, no rage, just quiet, steady steps. I wasn't there to argue. I was there for the truth. My dad was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through his phone like he was trying to avoid responsibility via Bluetooth. Morning, he said, not looking up. Did you know what Mom did? I asked. That got his attention. He looked up slowly, eyes already guilty. So that was a yes. He exhaled. It wasn't meant to hurt you. Right, I said. Just meant to destabilize my marriage. Totally harmless. He had the audacity to look thoughtful. We just didn't think you and Mika were a good match, he said finally. You think I don't know that's what you've always thought? You're practical. He's dramatic. He's an actor. That's literally his job. And you're in finance. Is there a rule that says we have to calculate taxes together to be compatible? He sighed, like I was the unreasonable one. We just want what's best for you. I laughed once, no humor. Is that what this was? Best for me? He didn't answer. I stepped closer. Or was it about something else? He paused. Then, like it was a casual observation about the weather, he said, Sienna's always had feelings for him. I stared at him. She never really moved on, he added. They've got chemistry. You've seen them on stage. She's pretending, I said. He smiled. Maybe, but it looked real. So you decided to sabotage my marriage for the sake of a performance. We just thought this might be her second chance. I couldn't tell if my heart was racing or just trying to launch itself into space. Did she know? I asked. Silence. That silence was everything. I leaned on the table, meeting his eyes. What did you do? We planted the bra. My jaw tightened. And the slipper? He nodded. Why? To test your relationship. To test it. To show you the cracks. You wanted it to break. He didn't deny it. You're too different, he said. And she's perfect for him. I nodded once, then I walked out. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I opened my laptop and typed up an eviction notice. I printed it, stapled it, folded it in half. Then I walked back upstairs, dropped it on the kitchen counter, and turned to face them both. You have 30 days, I said. After that, I want you out. My mom opened her mouth. We're your parents, she said. And I was your daughter, I said, and you still chose her. She tried again. You're overreacting. I picked up the notice, walked over to the fridge, and magneted it next to the grocery list like it was a family reminder. This time, I said, you don't get to rewrite the story. Then I went downstairs. I thought that was the end of it. It should have been. But one piece still didn't fit. I needed to know if Sienna had been part of it, if she'd watched me drown and handed them the water. So I drove to her apartment. No warning, just coffee and closure. She answered the door in sweatpants and a messy bun, clearly not expecting me. Hey, she said, is everything okay? No, I said, do you have 5 minutes? She stepped aside. I told her everything. The bra, the slipper, the trap, the lie. When I finished, she just sat there, mouth slightly open. They did what? You didn't know? No, God, no. Are you serious? I watched her face for cracks. I didn't see any. I thought they were acting weird, she said, but not like sabotage weird. I exhaled. Then she said, I'm actually seeing someone. I blinked. Oh, his name's Marcus. He's amazing. Smart, kind, ridiculously hot, by the way. She grinned. Then the grin faded. They haven't been thrilled, she said, because he's black. Yeah, I nodded. They haven't said anything outright, she went on, but they've been hinting passive stuff, asking if we're really compatible, if I've thought long term. Then she looked at me, eyebrows pinched. And lately they keep bringing up Ma out of nowhere, like, remember that scene where you kissed on stage? Like it meant something, like it wasn't blocking. It all clicked. They weren't just trying to wreck my marriage. They were trying to rewrote it. They couldn't accept her boyfriend, so they tried to shove Mika back into the picture. My husband, their backup plan. I stood up slowly. You didn't do this, I said, but they did it for you. Sienna nodded. I'm sorry, she said. Me too. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like her enemy. I just felt tired. Later, I stood in my kitchen. Ma came in behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, rested his chin on my shoulder. Hey, he said. Hey. We didn't say anything else. There wasn't much left to say. But in the silence, something new started to settle. Not peace, not yet, but distance from them. And maybe that was enough. Fast forward a few months. My parents are gone, moved out. Boxes and baggage and all. I went no contact. Blocked their numbers, emails, group chats, even the Spotify account we used to share. I don't care if they miss their playlists. I miss having parents who didn't lie to my face. They've tried to reach out a few times. Subtle stuff. A forwarded article, a voicemail about an upcoming birthday, a text that said, we miss you. Like it hadn't been a targeted missile last time they spoke to me. I didn't reply. I don't plan to. The funny part? Sienna barely talks to them either now. After everything they did, the manipulation, the sabotage, the not-so-subtle racism, even she backed off. They supported her for years, poured money into her career. But apparently, even golden children have a line. She's not fully no contact like me, but she keeps her distance. She says they drain her, which might be the most diplomatic way to say, you people tried to rearrange two lives without consent. But here's the thing I didn't expect. Sienna and I, we're good now. Actually good. She and Marcus are still together. Serious now. They moved in. He's great. Funny. Grounded. Makes her laugh like she used to when we were kids. And us, we talk more. We share things. We're rebuilding something that was never fully there to begin with. Turns out, when you cut out the part of the family that kept setting fire to the living room, the rest of the house gets easier to live in. So yeah, no contact, no apology, no more second chances. Did I go too far or not far enough? You tell me. Comment below and don't forget to subscribe.